was.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Maybe a joke every now and then, but you have to know the company that you joke in as well.
That's exactly right.
And I think if you don't know somebody and you don't know whether you're going to offend them or not, it's probably best not to say it.
That's right. I mean, that to me is common sense, and that to me is what is lacking a lot of the time in people. And it's particularly racist people. I'm not saying she's necessarily racist per se, I'm not saying she's part of the Ku Klux Klan, but the way most people are racist, I think she is. So, so I agree with you. Do you think that, for example, this woman who is suing her is saying she created the hostile work environment by using racial epithets and by creating a hostile work environment or whatever for her. So do you feel that that's justified or not?
Well, if I knew more of the actual situation, maybe. But I actually, what I can say, the reason if I were that lady that's going after Paula Deen, why I would not do that, reason why I would not do that is because it's going to be very hard for her now to get a job, especially with any white employer. And
she's suing her. She's suing her for $1.5 million, so you probably won't have to work for a while.
Well, that's true. If she wins, then she won't ever have to work. But actually speaking, on a smaller scale, it's kind of it's like one of these. If you work for, say you're a nurse and you work for a doctor's office, well, and then you see the doctor, it's like, when you have a chain like doctor's offices, they all have connections. They all talk. And then they find out, oh, well, I didn't like this person because of this, or I said this, or I went after this person over a racial joke. It's really hard to stay in your same industry when you go after your employer. Because your employer tells the next, and they tell their side, of course. As to what happened. And I've kind of seen, not with me personally, but I've kind of seen that happen, that once you basically go after your employer, whether you're validated to do it or not, whether you should do it or not, it kind of hurts you in the long run. It's like one of those, you just got to suck the shit up and go with it.
Well, I don't agree with that. I think that part of what you said anyway, I think that, look, if you're wronged in some way by someone else and you really feel that they have harmed you in some way in terms of emotional distress or made it difficult or impossible for you to work somewhere, which is your livelihood, I think that you have every right to sue, and I think that you should sue. And even though there may be consequences to your actions of suing, it doesn't mean that you still shouldn't follow through with it. I think that you cannot let everybody get away with this, because this kind of stuff happens all the time.
Or how about not just
people don't do anything
going
about
after
it.
the money?
I'm sorry,
or
say
how
again?
about just not going after the money, but just saying, her being fired is enough. She learned her lesson.
Because money.
I don't need millions of dollars.
Because money is the way that you hurt people in the society. It's the pocketbook.
Well, hell, if
that's
she's
how you
fired,
hurt
then that's the way to hurt her.
Well, she fired
She's
anyway.
Gonna be hurt.
That's the thing. She got fired anyway. It had nothing to do
that's
with it.
That's what I'm saying. That's gonna be a hurt in her. That's gonna be a hurt on her financially. I'm sure. Hell, I'm sure she's probably got enough to live off of for the rest of her life anyway.
Yeah. She does.
But
well,
I guess it's really hard to compare most everyday situations to Paula Deen as well. So.
Well, that's true.
Most average people don't have, millions of dollars.
But that's the thing. This was not, Paula Deen wasn't the only one involved. It was her son who was just running this restaurant. And her son was the one that was primarily involved, or was her boss as well anyway. And he was the one, he's an everyday person, say, and not somebody who's super famous or whatever. And so to her, it wasn't everything. It wasn't like Paula Deen was there every single day even. But she owns the restaurant, therefore she's being sued as part of this case. And in this deposition that she's given, a lot of her real thoughts and her real feelings on people of different races or people of different backgrounds or gay people or whatever came out. And so that's why she got fired, because she didn't really apologize for the things she said that she admitted to saying to this woman and other people around her. She just basically said, well, that's the way people are. Something you're kind of to some degree. And so, or that bathtub girl previous was saying, I'm sorry. So I think that maybe, you know, I understand what you're saying, but I think that ultimately, I think it's right for somebody to sue if they feel they've been wronged in whatever situation they're in. They should. But I don't think you can let people get away with it. I just don't. I wouldn't. I mean, look, if I were working for somebody and they kept calling me faggot or going around the kitchen or whatever, or if I was working in the kitchen, I guess, which I would never be doing. But anyway, if I were working in a kitchen and they were making fag jokes all day long for a year, every day practically at my expense, you can damn well believe I'm going to fucking sue whoever owns the restaurant and going to, you know, take them to court. If that were a protected class, it's not even protected in the country. But black people, you know, race or whatever is. So I think it's perfectly acceptable, but I was just curious what you thought about it. Did you have anything else you wanted to say?
I think I did, but I don't know. My brain only focuses on one thing at a time.
That's okay. I know what that's like. Trust me. That's cool. So thanks for calling in, though. I appreciate it, as always.
All right.
Okay, bye.
All right, thanks.
That was Ray, everybody. She's called in a few times before. Okay, so we've got about 20 minutes left in the show. If you want to call in to the show, feel free, 323-843-6160. Now, in the chat room, we have Viona Chen, which is not their real name, stating that they think black people are very racist, and he or she, I assume it's supposed to be a woman, says that they are Asian. Viona Chen says there is a man on this radio website, and he has a show about how evil white people are. He calls them white devils. But if someone had a show about saying bad things about black people, they would ban it, I think. No, they wouldn't. Let me tell you something about BTR. BTR doesn't ban you unless you fucking murder somebody, practically. I mean, you really have to go through a long, long process to get banned on this thing. I mean, in terms of free speech, they are pretty much okay with anything. I've been threatened. Someone threatened my life on this fucking BTR before. So they were going to come to me and slit my throat on the air as I was doing a show from a caller because I was gay. So they're going to slip my faggot through or something like that. And so, and I reported this to BTR, and this person continually messaged me as well behind the scenes, and I screenshot those and sent them to BTR to show them I was being harassed. They did absolutely nothing about it. Absolutely nothing. So, Viona Chen, you're definitely wrong about that. Whether it's a black person or if it's a white person, they're not going to do a shit about it. Now, are there white people who are oppressed? No. I don't think there are. I think there are white people who are discriminated against by other races sometimes, yes, but I wouldn't say oppressed necessarily by society as a whole. White people do not get oppressed in this country as far as I can tell, as far as I've ever seen in my 38 years of life. So it is not that way yet, and that's what I was saying at the beginning of the show. And about, by 2025, Caucasians will no longer be the majority race in this country. It'll be minorities. The combination of all the minorities will be the majority. And so that is going to create a big shift over the years, unfortunately, for white people, as they would see it anyway, in terms of what this country is going to be in maybe 50 years from now and how it's going to look and who is going to be in our Congress and in our president and in the White House or whatever. Unfortunately, things are changing for the better in a lot of ways, and a lot of ways they're changing for the worse. And I think that the main point I want to make of this show tonight, I guess, is this: look, if you want to use the N-word to somebody and you do it behind closed doors, and that's something that you feel is justified in your mind, that's your decision. But to subject anybody to any kind of racial or homophobic or misogynistic or anti-Semitic, any kind of that kind of stuff, jokes or environment which is hostile towards that person, is not acceptable. And it's not acceptable both under the law and ethically, even though Bathtub Girl didn't find it ethically immoral, which doesn't surprise me, I guess. But anyway, I think that it is certainly something that people are aware happens, a lot in this country, but they don't really deal with it because they feel they're afraid to sue, they're afraid to rock the boat, lose their job, be threatened or whatever. And look, fuck that. Look, if you are being harassed by somebody because of who you are, something you cannot change about yourself, fuck them. take their asses to court, go to the police, do whatever the fuck you can to get that person in trouble and to hit them in the pocketbook or hit them wherever it hurts in their family. I don't care if you have to concoct some fucking dynasty-type plot against taking over their fucking company. Do it. I'm serious. Do what the fuck you can, because you can't let people get away with it. And from so long throughout the history of this country, people, have been able to get away with homophobia, with racism, with misogyny, anti-Semitism, all of these things, because it's been almost impossible for these oppressed groups to actually rise above, actually defend themselves. But it is becoming more and more equal as we move on in the future, and things are improving, and ultimately we will have equality whether you want it or not. So I get called names all the time on BTR, as I said, and it doesn't, affect me emotionally, but it does piss me off that somebody thinks it's acceptable to speak that way to someone else. I just don't understand it. As I said at the beginning of the show, we are all part of the same race, the human race, motherfuckers, the human race. And race is something we have created on our own as human beings to separate ourselves from each other, to say this race is better than this race, or that race is better than that race. And as I proved in the beginning of the show, as I explained to you, where the races come from, why we have different races, that we are all from the exact same fucking place at the very beginning, Africa. A lot of white people who are racist don't want to hear that, but we all started off in Africa, all of us, every fucking race, Chinese or Asian, whatever, Asian, Hispanic, black, white, Native American, everybody started the same fucking place and moved out, and we changed as a result of those migrations. That's it, to better cope with our environment. That's all. That is all. And so when you look at somebody's race, you're seeing something that's really there. You're seeing a physical manifestation of evolution of people who've evolved to adapt to their environment. It's not evolution in the sense that this is better than the other. It's just that they've evolved to adapt to their environment that they were in for 40,000 years or whatever. And so you're only seeing history. And probably 20,000 years, if we're still here as a race, which I don't know if we will be because we're killing our planet, but that's another show. If we are still here as a human race, 20,000, 40,000, 50,000 years from now, we're probably all going to look a hell of a lot alike, because there is a lot of intermixing going on, and races are all going to intermix to some degree. We're going to have a lot of beige people running around this earth. And I think that's probably for the better, because then there will be no racism, because we'll all look the same. And I think that means great things for humankind. I think if we all looked either the same, first of all, it'd be fucking boring. I think the diversity we have between races is beautiful. I think all races, every fucking race has some beauty in it. Every race has beauty. Every race has beauty. And I was talking about, what was I talking about the other day? About how, the stereotypes. I won't talk about that. But anyway, every race has beauty. And so, looking at African Americans have the most beautiful skin, the best skin, because of the melanin in the skin, and it's always the best. And that's why black don't crack, as they say, because black people have the tightest, best skin, and it's the truth. If it's taken care of, it's beautiful. And white people have a great variety of eye color. Just the eye color, is beautiful, and what blue, green, violet, gray. Really some really beautiful things in the white race, there as well. Native Americans and Asians have the best hair. I mean, their hair is just fucking beautiful. I hate them. It's just the best, They have the best hair. And what's left? Hispanics have great, I think just the skin color is beautiful as well. And so, I could go on and on and on. There's something about every race that you can find beauty in, okay? That doesn't mean just because you aren't somebody else's race that you can't find beauty in it. Everybody has something beautiful about them. And so looking at people as separate all the time really just serves to divide us, and really it's just a fucking stupid thing to do in the first place. All you're doing is showing your fucking ignorance and your stupidity. Oh, one more thing I wanted to talk about real quick, the last 5-10 minutes of the show, is Apocalypse, who's living on the show right now, earlier talked to me in another room and said to me, I know that this person, I don't know who this person is, they're a troll, and there's somebody that I probably know on BTR that's pretending to be Apocalypse because this person knows who I am or whatever, to some degree. And so they are saying to me earlier, they said, what'd they say? they said black people. Oh, he said, why do black people say something? And I said, I wouldn't know because I'm not black. I'm black and white. And so you have to ask a black person, or you have to ask a white